So let's have a look at the way of spiritual relationship. So the first thing that you need to know is this connection between you as a being who's not yet complete in the relative world, in the relative way of being, but in the absolute way of being you are complete. And you're on a journey from the relative to the absolute, from duality into non-duality. And within that movement, from your present state to your completion, if you look at the left side of the fifth graphic here, you imagine this arrow going up from the incomplete situation you find yourself in to your completeness. In the process of that, you become more and more and more complete. So if you now find a partner who has the same goal, to find his or her completion internally, then you no longer have this fundamental error, this fundamental expectation that this person is going to make you whole or happy. You know it's your job. And then you have a place for the two things that you inevitably get from your partner, which is love and support, maybe, if it's a good day, but certainly challenge. And that challenge is supporting you, is supporting or even enabling your journey, your realization, your awakening to your completeness, because it's showing you the places where you're not yet enlightened. How else are you going to get there? To this state of completion. You have to find the places that are not complete in your perception. So when that person pushes your buttons, they do so for a good reason, because when you fell in love, you became very quickly, that happens within maybe hours, certainly within days, you became very quickly the world's expert in each other's buttons. And then as soon as the honeymoon breaks up, you begin to push them in each other. And you may, if you have one person who's really close to you, that is the best person to experience, to help you to find the places where you need to grow. Because you've let them so close. You've put down all your barriers, all your usual walls. And they're really close in there. And they instinctively will know where it is that they have to push. So you can then fulfill your promise to yourself, which is your journey to your completeness. By finding the pieces that are missing, by getting free of what is too much. So when somebody makes you angry, wonderful. Now, of course, in relative terms, it's not wonderful at all. You're ticked off at the person. But when you have this desire, first and foremost, to find your completion, to find your enlightenment, you know that you depend on that. You depend on that person showing you where your reactivity still is. And then you will work on your reactivity. And you will notice any intention that's there to fix him or her. That's how we've tried to do relationship. Oh, if he's just going to finally see the light, then I'll be happy. Will never happen. So you've sort of farmed out your completion, your happiness to that other person. But when you get angry, that points out to you a place in you that needs attention. That place that reacts with anger. And of course you want to react, don't you do that, don't you say that. And there's always those three fingers pointing back at you. Can you look at that? Or are you going to follow the ego to the other person, trying to make them different, trying to change them? And how well has that worked for you, trying to change another person?
It hasn't.
It hasn't indeed. So, in another way of looking at the world, you can say, and this is very real when you get really into it, you can say that the entire world, the entire universe, exists only in your mind. Because everything you know out there is perceived in here. So the whole universe exists in your mind, and it exists for one person only. And that is to give you the perfect situation at every moment in your life to lead you back to your completion, to lead you to enlightenment, to lead you to God, whatever words you use. And now we have arrived at a completely different paradigm of life, not just of relationship. At first, in this relationship where you're looking for somebody else to complete you, you see yourself the way we've all been trained to see ourselves. As a separate entity in a world that's rather hostile most of the time. So you're this separate thing, and I call that the pinball version of life. It's like you're the pinball. And somebody pulls the trigger and you're shot out into the world through your mother's womb. And there you are. And you identify yourself now with your body. And as this body ego, terrible things can happen at any moment and you don't know what it is. And something whacks you over the head and it pushes your life into a completely unforeseen direction. And then something else whaps you over the head and pushes you this way. And it goes on and on and on and on until you finally fall into the hole. Well, that's a really thrilling vision of life. But that's how we've been trained to see our lives, and that's the state we're in when we're looking for, desperately for somebody else to give us some stability and give us some kind of wholeness. And it cannot happen that way.